Okay, well, I'd like to say welcome back, but it's been over a year. But welcome back to Manitoba Power with just the D. I don't know where the T went. Not here, but we miss him, and we'll try to keep this going without him. Like I said, it's been over a year, so lots has happened in powerlifting since. If you guys don't know who I am, Coach Dino, owner of One Family Fitness Center. I'm a competitive powerlifter in the Masters 1 division, 105 kilos. So that's probably a change since the last time you guys saw me. Might look like I take up a little bit more of the screen since I've gained like 25 pounds. But yeah, we're back and we're going to do what we can, when we can, however we can to bring you information about powerlifting in Manitoba. The goal being making it more accessible and explaining news, stuff that's going on in the world of powerlifting, as well as encouraging people to get involved and try it out. So yeah, we miss Tommy and we're going to do what we can without him. It's very hard to put one of these on without bouncing ideas off someone. So if I stumble, if I forget something, if I leave something out that I mentioned, it's going to happen. And maybe I can edit it out. But really, I don't have time for that. So good luck listening to this podcast, and let's see what we can do together. So I've been wanting to do this for over a year, obviously. I think we had something really good going, and we had some good momentum. And there was listeners all across Canada. I travel for powerlifting, both as an athlete and as a coach. And I talk to people from all over Canada. And coast to coast, they were listening to Manitoba Power because there aren't many good powerlifting podcasts out there. There aren't many at all. But again, we'll do what we can to at least provide some content. But I just came back from Portage, Southport Recplex, I think it's called, for the MPA Summer Classic. And shout out to Craig, the MPA secretary, who took the helm on this one and decided to meet direct his first meet. This meet was unique. One, it was very small. Again, I'm going to have to refer to my notes throughout this just because I am solo, but I believe there were 17 lifters in this event, and Craig wanted an event that had cash prizes. I sent him a message to see how that went because I had to dip out before awards, but I'm fairly certain from the GL scores here, I know who got what. And last minute, I was kind of like him and Han, like, should I jump in this? Like, I know I'm not the best powerlifter, but like I can, 88 is not an unreasonable GL for me to hit. Probably 90 as a 105 now, which would have probably got me third. And I believe there were cash prizes for first, second, and third, which I believe Craig had to find ways to fundraise that himself. So good on you. But if I'm not mistaken, and maybe I'll get a bunch of hate mail because I was completely wrong, but I believe there was 3 prizes for the men, 3 prizes for the women. At least that's what I thought going into it. Like I said, I was like, should I jump in and do this? But no, I decided not to because looking initially at the men, I was like, Riley Bertrand, I know he's good for at least 90 GL, even more than that on a good day. And like I thought, he ended up with 93.76. Or no, that's not correct. He ended up with 94.64. I was reading Monica's GL score. And that was from a 260 squat, 145 bench, and 275 deadlift, 680 total, which I can match or beat. However, this is the amazing part. He weighed in at 82.12 kilos. So open lifter, super strong. I know he attempted 300 kilos on his deadlift and then 305.5 to break the provincial record. Just didn't have it today. One unfortunate thing is he actually got called on his second deadlift for the new shoulder rule. And if you guys don't know, this year there was a new shoulder rule that affects mostly, I want to say, sumo, where if your shoulders are internally rotated, they need to be behind the bar when you lock out. because most of us, if we do sumo, we will internally rotate, grab the bar, and then externally rotate, right? Like that's kind of how you set up and create your wedge, which is good. It helps. That's how you get that nice tight wedge. But on the lockout, what people were noticing, I guess, is that the shoulders tended to be over or in front of the bar. This new rule says, hey, your shoulders have to be behind the bar. And that's what he got called on that 300 kilogram deadlift. He decided to up it anyways, go for 305.5. I think, he hits that 300. Maybe he gets that 305.5 just because there's that extra confidence boost. Regardless, he still had the highest GL, but I'm certain he wanted, a 700 plus total at 83 would be massive. And he was looking to set 2 provincial records there, both the deadlift and the total. So he came away with the top GL. The second notable is Woojun Lim, or Jun, I think is what he goes by. 93 kilos open. Again, 680 kilos. So I just mentioned 680 because I just hit 680 at Nationals as an M1 105. These guys are lighter, they're younger, they're hungrier, they have less sore hips. But I love to see this. Again, he went for a couple things I think that he missed. Let me see if I know how to. They used arena powerlifting to track this, and I'm just trying to figure out if I can see all of his lifts. No, I don't know how to do that. Maybe if I go to view scoreboard. Yes, here we go. So if I view the scoreboard, we can see that he missed a 280 deadlift and a 285 deadlift. Both on grip, I believe he ripped his palm on the 280, and then that 285, like I think his hand was bleeding. Good effort on him, but no, it wasn't going to happen today. He's a strong kid, and he tends to do this where sometimes he misses some things, just with some like maybe bigger jumps. But yeah, solid meat. I believe his GL was 90.04. So amazing GL. Anything over 90 is commendable, so that's fantastic. But great meat for Woojun as well. This kid, these guys are young, so I'm always like super excited when these guys do well, because I started this sport after my 30th birthday, I believe. So I've been doing this going on 13 years, I think, competing in powerlifting, and but I didn't get to do it when I was young. And there's a lot of progress you can get if you start young and you develop the technique and the skill. Whereas like I lifted as a bodybuilder for almost 20 years before I even, decided to do powerlifting, and my bench was like flat back, flared elbows, blowing out my shoulders all the time. My deadlift was terrible. My squat, my worst lift, I've gained the most on my squat in the last like 3 or 4 years in my 40s. So to be young and in this sport, it just must feel so good to be constantly progressing, recovering from injuries, all that kind of stuff that you don't really do, as you get older. One little tweak in my back and I'm out for a month and I can't deadlift. So great to see this. And then that third spot is kind of what I knew, and I kind of looked at the numbers. I was talking to Jordan about this, and he did the same thing. He ran the numbers. He's like, basically, on openers, it's going to be Riley, Woojun, and then Jordan. So again, Jordan was going for that national qualifying total. And if you guys don't know, for 2027, the totals are going up, mostly for the juniors and opens, I believe. I don't know if any of the master classes or higher were affected, but I do know that, as the sport grows, athletes get better, the pool of athletes grows larger, and the standard needs to go up, or else we end up with massive nationals, right? With like 400, 500, 600, 700 athletes. So, they need to narrow the field by increasing those totals. So he needed, if I'm not mistaken, 525 for his 59 kilo national qualifying total. He does a cut for this class, obviously. 59 is very small for men. on average. Just statistically, most men are heavier than that. So he usually cuts down from like 62 kilos, I believe, to get into the 59 weight class. And he weighed in at 58.24. For his squats, everything seemed to go pretty good. He hit a 170 opener, 180 second attempt. He went for 188 to beat his own provincial record. Just didn't have it. And then for bench, 112 opener, 117 second. Went for 120 on his third and just kind of got, I think, pinned. And again, we were talking about maybe it was a little extra hard on the cut, not rehydrating, not getting the calories in, not getting the body weight back to what it normally is, which generally speaking with any type of water cut, gut cut, you're going to want to try to get your body weight back to your training weight within that 2-hour period, which is very difficult to do, especially if you don't have access to the scale. So the weigh-in scale was gone right after weigh-ins, and usually what I like to do is go jump on the scale as I'm rehydrating and eating to make sure that I get my weight back up to where it needs to be in order to, feel good on the platform. Hopefully, I don't have to do that anymore. Being in 105, saying that, I'm sitting at like 108, 9 weeks out from commonwealths. So, if I can walk off this weight, we'll see, but I might need to do a little mini cut as well. On to deadlifts for Jordan, 200, massive deadlift for that body weight, 210, and then opted for that 12.5 kilo jump, and it was glued to the floor today. So he has many opportunities between now and nationals to reattempt hitting that total, but as the totals go up, man, it's going to get harder and harder for athletes to qualify for that national level, which in any sport, we've been getting away, I think, in the last 10 years with it being easy even for me. Like, I'm not that good at powerlifting, and I get to travel around the world as a Team Canada athlete because the sport is so small. But as the sport grows, a 680 kilo total isn't going to be very good for a 105 kilo lifter, especially if you look at what the juniors and the opens are doing. As soon as they start aging into the masters in a few years, I'm just not going to have any opportunities to travel anymore. So just a reality that I'll have to deal with, but that's just how she goes. If we look at the females, so here's the thing. I didn't actually get to watch the females, but I can see here kind of how everyone placed. Before I get on to the females, maybe I'll just talk about who did we have as men in this. So we had Brock doing equipped. We had Rennie and Walter both competing. These are all M3 lifters. Brock was in the 120 plus equipped, and good meet overall. I think he always has a blast, and it's always fun to watch them because Brock is competing. He's got a buddy handling him, Mr. Rob Snow, who is known in the powerlifting community. But Susan, his wife, was refereeing. And it's funny to see the banter when, he misses a lift and they're talking about it. And one thing I noticed was she thought he missed 2 out of 3 of his benches. And he says, "No, Sue, you're the only one of the refs that gave me a red light." So he actually made that lift, but she thought he didn't. But anyways, he got 160 on his squat. And I think watching those squats, he was getting called on depth. He wasn't getting into that pocket there, which with equipped, there's a massive forward lean and then you need to pop your hips down. And he just wasn't touching that spot. He reattempted 175 twice, didn't happen. So 160. But then on bench, he went 125, 130, and then 135. So standard 5 kilo jumps. And I don't think I saw this one. So I don't know what he missed it for. But this was like that 130 bench is what the one that Sue gave him a red for. But he ended up getting it anyways. And then deadlifts, he went 3 for 3. 160, 175, and then 182.5, which is, that's a 400-pound deadlift for somebody in the M3 class, which is fantastic, man. Like, you can lift some really heavy weights into your 60s for sure. So this is what I love to see about powerlifting. It's why powerlifting is part of my overall training philosophy. regardless of who you are, what your goals are. Powerlifting is just a way of like always getting stronger. I think that no matter your age, you can progress forever. Unless you're like an elite level lifter, then you progress really quick at the start. But like most people coming in and becoming, a client of mine for whatever fitness goal are going to be able to progress forever. So I love powerlifting because, it gamifies fitness. It allows us to have an endless number of goals with the squat, bench, and deadlift, so we could always progress at them. So for the women, we had, I think, fewer women competing at this meet. And that's odd because usually the women outnumber the men. In my experience, we tend to have more women competing in most of our events, which I love to see again. We did see Chanel do bench only, which is cool. Like as a junior doing bench only, that's just something great to see because bench only is like a sport in itself. So she got a 72.5 kilo bench, which is, I think, is huge, for a 57 kilo junior, but then missed 75 twice. Again, I didn't get to watch the women just because I was warming up my client, Steven. But yeah, so that's great to see. In terms of the actual GL scores for the women, my thought is obviously that the first place went to Monica Guyot with her 93.76 GL. And I think to this day, she's one of the few that are over 100 and might be in the one spot right now for Manitoba women, which is something I'll probably have to dig up for the next podcast. But again, I'm kind of doing this like last minute, not really prepared, some topics, but like just trying to get the ball rolling again. So just kind of bear with me. But yeah, so that's that 93, which is massive, man. Like I want a 93 GL, but like I need to total like 750 and I'm just not anywhere near that yet to have a GL score that high at this body weight. And the other effects of this body weight is like, pretty sure I'm out of breath already 5 minutes into this podcast. So I apologize if you can't really hear what I'm saying because I'm breathing like a pig. But that's just part of, powerlifting, I guess. In the second spot, if I am correct, it's Christelle Palapuz. So 85.03 GL. Again, massive GLs, man. 47 kilo junior. Let's look at some of these weights lifted. 100 kilo squat. 56 kilo bench. That's a record. 129 kilo deadlift. That's a record. 393.92 dots. 85.03 GL. 285 kilo total for a 47 kilo junior. That is over 5 times body weight, I believe. Right? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yeah, that's 5 point something times body weight. So that's a massive total, especially that young in the sport. So love to see that. Hopefully for the next podcast, I'll actually have the cash prizes. I can't remember what they were. So I apologize to Craig because I'm probably not doing your meet justice, but very quick meet. I like to be in and out for these things. You're not there all day, all night. Thanks to the referees. Love to see that David's still in the referee chair. We're all wishing him well. We just all the same faces, So the sport takes everyone coming and showing up and doing their thing. So we had volunteers come set up, tear down, spotters and loaders. We had our usual suspects on the platform, which is great to see. So we thank you all for that. Obviously, Daniel Mr. Guns, on the platform, also bringing baked goods for the volunteers. But again, it's always great to have people like that in the sport that always give back. I love to try to do that myself. In the executive role as vice president, and doing what I can behind the scenes to help the sport grow, as well as like my coaching committee chair and competition committee chair. Like these are ways that I give back because I can't really commit to doing things like setting up and tearing down anymore, just with everything I have going on. but I do what I can, and I appreciate it because I put on a meet every year as well, and I need volunteers for that as well. So any other notables for the Summer Classic? And again, if I didn't mention you, I apologize, but I can't talk about everyone, and a lot of people just want to hear highlights. But other things, Stefan Sulik did bench only as well. Massive bench, 175 opener, I think, or 170 opener, or 175 second, and I think he missed his third attempt. But again, massive bench, like, geez, please don't cut to 105. Well, he's open anyway, so I don't really have to worry. Marcel Henry, just shout out to him. He's from Kenora. He comes up on his own, coaches himself, I think, handles himself, and he's a young kid. He's getting better every meet. He comes up and talks to me every meet and just tells me how it's going, and I love that because this is somebody who doesn't really have the support we do here with the large communities that we have for powerlifting, like Cornerstone, One Family Fitness, all the other clubs that have groups of individuals to support each other. I believe he just trains by himself in Kenora, so good job on him because I think he set some really big numbers here, a 230 squat, which is massive for somebody that new, a 230 deadlift. I saw him go for 257.5 on that deadlift, but just wasn't happening today. But that, I believe, would have given him a 600 kilo total, which seems like something he was shooting for. But he'll get it next time. If that's one thing I know about him, he always shows up. So that's the Summer Classic. Great meet, great event. Thank you to everyone who was there. Let's kind of see what's next. What we can talk about today. Apologize if you can hear anything in the background. It sounds like somebody's working out, and because they're by themselves, they need to smash every possible weight. So let us look at what is next. Around the world. So, lots happens in a year in powerlifting. I don't generally spend that much time paying attention to other things that happen in powerlifting just because of the nature of my job. I spend my days in the gym. It's really hard for me to pay attention to the sport outside of what I'm doing, what my athletes are doing, what the NPA is doing, what CanPL is doing. But again, it looks like the World Championships in 2026 had to be relocated from Dubai to Lithuania. Had to do something with geopolitics and all that kind of stuff. So it was moved around and happened in June. 362 athletes competed, which is great. What else did we have here? Oh, any records? Yeah, we had Jesus Olivares pulled 417.5 kgs raw, which is an unofficial world record. He pulled this at the 2026 AMP Open Nationals. This is great. Massive pull. He's a celebrity. I believe he did really well at Worlds as well. If I'm not mistaken, how do I check this? Yeah. So at Worlds we had by GL, no, he's not here. But by GL, 131.53 GL for Austin Perkins in the 74 kilo class. Listen to this, 891.5 kilos. Like, why do I do this sport? When somebody that weighs 70 pounds less than me pulls, 200 kilos more than me in his total, which is insane. But if I want to be humbled even more, second place for GL, Brittany Schlater, Canadian, 127.99 GL. She's in the 84 plus kilo class with a 756.5 kilo total. That's almost 100 kilos more than me, a 240 pound male. So just crazy. Like, sometimes I wonder why I do this, other than I do it to defeat myself, not the enemy, because I know I can't beat anyone else. And then in third place, Tiffany Chapon, I don't know, 126.11 GL, but massive 453 kilo total at 47 kilos. So we're looking at almost a 10 times body weight total. How insane is that, right? Crazy. So those are the top GLs from Worlds this year. Just, something, a talking point, something to talk about. Other interesting kind of things that we have going on. IPF launched its new official nominating and scoring system. Do I know what this means? Not really, but it is relevant for us and anyone international, because somehow we're going to be involved in that, and it's going to affect us somehow. Probably after Commonwealths, I'll know what to talk about, because I don't compete internationally until Commonwealths. Which, it's probably a good way to segue, I don't know what the word is, into that topic, which is Commonwealths happening in Winnipeg, September 17th to 27th. Somebody told me this was the first time Commonwealths is in Canada. No, not Canada. Winnipeg. Commonwealths has been to Canada in the past, but it is in Winnipeg, September 17th to 27th at the Holiday Inn Express, Winnipeg Airport, 1740 Ellis Avenue. I will be competing, hopefully. No injuries. But yeah, it looks like I was talking to Matt today, and there's a large number of athletes. I don't want to give away privileged information, so I'm not going to say how many. But today was the closing of preliminary nominations. So if you do go to Goodlift nominations, you can see the list of nominations for Commonwealth. Commonwealths equipped men's classic. Scroll all the way down to M1, which is me, and look at the 105 kilo class, because that's the one I'm in. That's the one I'll talk about. I was nominated second. I'm assuming this is everyone, because today is the closing of final nominations. Not final, preliminary nominations. People can still drop out. But I'm nominated second with my 680 kilo total from nationals. I hit personal bests on the squat and on the deadlift, and I fell short on the bench because I was recovering from an injury, which I no longer have. So I should do a little bit more on bench than at nationals. But I squatted 240 kilos, which was a lifetime competition PR. 280 deadlift, which again was a PR by 7.5 kilos. And I benched 160 kilos for a 680 total. At North Americans last year, I benched 167.5 with some in the tank. So 170 isn't unrealistic. 170 plus is not unrealistic, which gives me, another 10 kilos on my total. Squat, I think I have another 10, and deadlift, I'm hoping for 10 to 20. So, anywhere from like a 690 to 720 kilo total would be desirable for Commonwealths. Saying that, we have Ryan Loss in the 4th spot. He's a reserve. I'm assuming he's going to be able to compete. I'm not sure. It depends who drops out and who doesn't. Would love to have him there, because I feel like he also has a similar total potential for Commonwealth. So that'll put us close. From Wales, we have Olu Akanro. I don't know who that is. 667. I haven't looked any of these guys up. I'll probably use my ChatGPT to deep dive these guys and see what have they actually hit in the past, recently, like the last 2 years. And then is there training information, anything they've hit in training that they can I can get from Instagram or something, just to kind of see what's up, and then do some statistical analysis, which is me just making stuff up, because I really wouldn't. It's just ChatGPT compiling it for me. But seeing kind of how things could shake out, saying that the bottom 3 are under 600 kilos. Not too worried about that. So top 4 is reasonable. However, Anthony McCleggan out of Northern Ireland, 840 kilo total. So the gap between him and I, first and second, is 160 kilos. So unless a miracle happens and I gain superhuman strength, first place is not likely. And you're saying, hey, second is good. Well, I competed at the Commonwealth 2 years ago, because it happens every 2 years. That was my first time, and that was in South Africa, and I placed second in the 93 kilo class with like a 640 or 645 total. So I would love to not get second, but probably not going to happen unless something happens. So let's see what happens, and how it shakes out. But that's what I'm looking forward to. That's what I've been training for, and yeah, that's it there. Anyone else from Manitoba doing commonwealths? I see Tony Nickel, I see Brent Smith, I see probably gonna miss people. That's the men. I see Daniel Collette as a reserve. I'm sorry if I miss any of you from Manitoba. I'd love to shout everyone out. I just don't know that I see everyone. Any opens? There's probably some opens too that I'm missing. Jared McIntyre, I see him 66 kilo open. Yeah, let's look at the females real quick here. Commonwealths, women's, and I'm not going to look at equipped. Sorry guys, just because there's only so many things I can cover. Obviously, Monica Gaillot is there, 57 kilos. Anyone else? Probably. It's just hard to go through and see who is who quickly. Where's Trinity? Are you Trinity doing this one? I don't know. Anyways, my eyes are going blurry from looking at this. If I missed you, I apologize, but many more Manitobans, I'm sure, are doing the commonwealths. One thing that you need to know that if you don't know is even if you live in Winnipeg, you got to buy a hotel room. It's a rule. So I'll be getting a hotel room to compete in commonwealths, but not stay in it because I pay for a place to live. But yeah, I think you have to spend 1 or 2 nights. I'm not sure what the rules are. I'll have to take a look in the host hotel. And I know that with the number of athletes they've had to get 2 more hotels. So there should be rooms available. But let's move on to NAPFs, which is happening right away, August 3rd to 8th in Newfoundland. So, you know, Jeff Butt, CanPL president, hosting this one or co-hosting this one. We're in the final nominations, I believe, for NAPF, and it ends in 1 hour. But happening in St. John, Newfoundland. So we just had nationals in Newfoundland, NAPF in Newfoundland, and next year Master Worlds is happening in Newfoundland. So lots of traveling to Newfoundland if you're a master, that's for sure. But anyways, we have, this is a Special Olympic event, I believe. But I see Jared McIntyre again. I see, oh my goodness, I should have made a list ahead of time because this is annoying. But I do know that Ryan Loss is competing, I believe. Master 1. Yeah, Ryan Loss. He's doing 120 kilo at the NAPFs, and then I believe he's doing 105 for Commonwealth. So, but he's usually a light 120 because I believe he walks around lighter than I am right now. Yeah, any other Canadians I'm forgetting? Probably a bunch because I'm terrible at this. CanPL president Jeff Butt's competing as well. He's a M2 in the 93 kilo class. So this is a guy I've been watching because, like, as I was coming up, I was like, This is the guy that's the #1 spot in my class because I was a 93. I need to beat his total, and then I finally did. I got a 670 total in North Americans, and then now a 680 total at nationals, and hopefully a 690 at my next one plus, but we'll see what happens. So far, prep hasn't been the best, but I promise it's going to get better. Women, let's quickly take a look at the women. Women's Classic. I know Trinity's doing this one, and like I'm always watching to see what that girl is up to because she is impressive. Yeah, we have Trinity. She's nominated second in 84 juniors, and then other females. Let me see here. Lots of names I recognize just from, powerlifting is small in Canada, but I don't know that there's any other Manitobans. If there is, I apologize because, again, I'm just like eyeballing this real quick. But yeah, excited to see what happens at North Americans. I have an athlete competing in North Americans. She's from BC. I believe she's nominated first in her first international meet. And I know it's going to be a battle because I think there's only 3 girls and they all have totals within like 5 kilos. But we're going to battle regardless and try to take that one spot away. And then for comms, I think I have 3 myself. Yeah, I have three people competing as well as myself. So always great to have athletes competing at these levels. The next thing, I guess, on the CADPL schedule is Westerns, or that applies to you guys because, again, there's Easterns, there's Centrals, but for the Manitoba Power crew, Westerns is happening in October in Saskatoon, Saskatchewan, my birthplace. Excited to be there, excited to coach. I think we have 5 athletes from here. Call-outs are happening now for Team Manitoba coaches. Submit your application on the website. Would love for new people to apply. I'll be applying as well, just because I've done it many times in the past and I'm not competing and I like to give back. So we'll see what happens. But I encourage anyone who feels like they could use the experience, could give back, and are qualified to do it, because it does take a little bit of experience to coach at that level. I would encourage you to do so. Other things happening in coaching, obviously Manitoba has that required coaching course that you need in order to coach at provincials. CanPL is rolling out their coaching program in the next year, I believe, where you'll need the CanPL coaching course to handle athletes at Westerns or any regionals, as well as nationals. So watch out for news on that, which is great because, again, this powerlifting is so new that realistically, should somebody with no experience, no coaching experience, no criminal record checks, nothing, be allowed to travel and coach athletes all across Canada at all levels? Probably not. So this is just bringing in some, reasonable changes to make powerlifting more a sport. And on that note, we will be applying for Sport Manitoba accreditation in the next couple months, and hopefully we can get it because it's a nomination year or an accreditation year. But at the national level, powerlifting is now considered a sport, as it's now affiliated with SportCan. But it's up to the provinces to also do their part. And, in my roles with the executive committee, we are applying right away here for Sport Manitoba accreditation, which is important, which brings what is that called? Credibility to our sport, as well as potential funding. Funding is important because we're a nonprofit and there really isn't that much money. At under 200 members in our organization, imagine how many fees that actually is per year in order to pay for the things that we need to pay for in order to grow this sport. That's why people like myself need to do things like this for free in order to kind of advertise, get education out there, and get interest in the sport. So anyways, on to the next topic, I guess. What do I have for you guys? Probably not much more because I feel like I've been talking too much. at the Canadian level, we had some suspensions. We've already talked about local suspensions, but again, just bringing up the idea that there are suspensions shows that there is some testing in our sport, which does bring the legitimacy of like competing in a drug-tested sport. However, for the hundreds of thousands of dollars that are paid in doping control, like there really isn't that much testing at the local level, provincial level, even regional level. And as the sport grows, I think that's going to become more necessary. And hopefully there's a way to do it more cost effectively. I've been drug tested in the past, simple process, painless, but again, it doesn't happen that often. Not all our meats are tested, obviously. And, usually it's because of somebody being reported, and then they'll maybe pick another couple people at random at the event. But yeah, we definitely could use more testing for the sport's legitimacy as claiming to be a natural sport, because we all pay into that. Every single meet that you guys do, a percentage of your registration fee goes towards doping control. And if you got an event with 56 athletes, and they're paying $20 to doping control or $15 to doping control, that could be up to $1,000. And then there's no testing at your event, right? So that money is going into a pool to test mostly athletes at the international level, mostly in the open classes and maybe junior classes, right? Like those stars that need to be tested 10 times a year, right? That are in the tested pool. You and I are probably not in the tested pool. And if you're getting tested, it's because somebody reported something, or you posted something, or you were just randomly selected by some algorithm. So, but there have been some recent cases out of Abbotsford, Moncton, Calgary, and Edmonton, people being sanctioned for positive tests. Other things, hey, I would love to do this. Should we be doing it monthly or bi-weekly? I don't know. But I would love some consistency back to Manitoba Power. Any of you listening maybe want to think about co-hosting. Could be useful, could be fun. It's hard. I know Tommy and I always had problems like connecting, and towards the end we had to do it virtually in order to have the time to do it together. But yeah, we could always use an extra voice. And then other things that are important. We're trying to get youth into powerlifting. And I know the long-term development program for Canada Powerlifting is to create a version of powerlifting that is fun for kids, that has a lower threshold in terms of like judging criteria, different weigh-ins, not requiring them to wear approved equipment, that kind of stuff, because my two oldest were the first two kids to compete in Manitoba history, and they're not competing anymore, mostly because, one, it's hard to have them here at the gym. They still work out at home, but there were some not cool experiences where 8-year-olds are getting yelled at because they decided to roll their sleeves up. It's supposed to be fun. Maybe the rules don't need to be enforced strictly for an 8-year-old, especially if he's going to cry at his first meet, because he just wants to have fun. And in order for this sport to grow, we need kids in it. And in order for kids to get involved, it can't cost an arm and a leg. You can't have all these kids needing approved equipment. You can't have them need a 2-hour weigh-in, getting there at 6 a.m. You can't need them to, get strictly scored to the same criteria as adults. So we got to make it fun. And I know that that's one of the goals of the long-term development program for powerlifting in Canada, but also locally we've been talking about holding non-sanctioned meets for kids and then changing the rules. Think about it like how hockey for kids is done on like a half rink with like used equipment. how we have, smaller sticks, how we have different structures for games. The same goes for other sports. For basketball, my son's in basketball, they have a lower net, right? The rules for kids are not the same as the rules for adults. And if our sport is going to succeed, that has to be the same for powerlifting. And it is going to happen, which I'm excited about. But it needs to, it's going to take people putting these things on. So you can expect to see something like that here at One Family Fitness. That's something we're working on because we do have quite a few kids in powerlifting. Either for sport development, like to get better at a specific sport, or just because they want to powerlift. But that's kind of the future of powerlifting because we've been hovering at like 200 members for the last like 5 or 6 years. Just think about how many kids are in like soccer, right? Like I think there's like 5,000 kids in soccer in like one age group in Manitoba. So, our sport is so small. And that's very evident by like you compete and you're usually the only person in your weight class, right? Like that's just the joke in powerlifting is like at the local level, you win your weight class, an age class because you're the only person. And this won't always be the case. Eventually powerlifting will become mainstream. It will become a very popular sport again, because it's so simple, it's so safe, it's so beneficial long-term to learn these movements and continue to grow with it. So that's pretty much my thought on that. The last thing I want to talk about is just on kind of a nudge towards the AGM. So one of the things we've looked at is making participation in the AGM count as one of your volunteer credits because we want more people taking part in the AGM, taking part in the future in Manitoba powerlifting. We do have some elections coming up. This will be Amanda's last year as president, so she will be stepping down in November. And we do have other board positions that are open. So I believe we still need a community outreach chair. I think we need potentially a vice president, see what happens. And then some other positions, I think social media or like media person. And then our committees. So I'm the head of 2 committees because there isn't anybody else to do that. So the competition committee and the coaching committee are both committees that I'm the head of. So we have the opportunity for you guys to volunteer and give back with your time. So the AGM is a great place to kind of see what's going on, vote on the future of powerlifting. And again, it's going to count as, I believe, 1 volunteer credit if you attend. So that's it for Manitoba Power today. I hope it was worth listening. Let me know. Send me a message. Like, actually give me feedback because like this is going to take me whatever time it took to record, to plan, now to edit, to upload. I'm only going to continue to do it if it makes sense for you guys listening. So that's Manitoba Power, and I'm D, and we're done.